Hey everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Artisan Pirate here, and in today's fun scroll saw project video, we're going to be doing more compound cutting to once again show off the scroll saw's amazing versatility. Now, I've slotted this project into the Halloween videos for this year because I feel like if you wanted to dress up as a witch or wizard from mythology, folklore, or even popular books, this would be a great thing to make. You can, of course, sometimes make props or pieces to your Halloween costume during the spooky season, or just for some spooky and mythical decor. So really cool. I've already got the pattern photocopied to its full size and attached to our material with clear packing tape. And the design we're going to be doing comes from an older issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing, Fall 2020, issue 80 to be precise, with the nice fretwork animal there on the cover. And the article and the design we are going to be doing begins on page 26, and it says, "Compound cut wizard wands. Conjure up an arsenal of these magical tools just in time for Fright Night," by Mr. Al Bagetta. We've done some of his designs in the past over here on the platform, and I've actually cut out one of these wizard wands over here on the channel years and years ago on my old Delta 16-inch scroll saw, if you guys want to go back and view that video. But the article here features 3 magic wands, and I wanted to cut out the other 2 in today's video just to kind of refine the process and do a little bit better in a teaching manner to show you guys how they are made from start to finish. But on the following page, you do have an article on how to make them and finish them off, and there is a list of supplies you may need. And Mr. Al Bagetta also offers a nice little wand stand. There you go, there at the bottom, that you can download over at scrollsaw.com, the website for Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine. I don't know if it's still available. Keep in mind, this was way back in 2020 when the magazine was released, but really neat. Of course, I hope it goes without saying, anytime I do a compound cut video, that you need to make sure that your scroll saw and your table saw, or potentially even your bandsaw, wherever you mill your material down to, is dialed in at a perfect 90 degrees for compound cutting, because that's going to be essential to make sure the art you are trying to make and reveal out of the block you are cutting from works properly. Now again, we've done one of these magic wands in a previous video years ago, and this is the Amiibo wand, and it has some nice internal cuts there on the handle of it. Has a nice grip to it, and, you know, you can do your abracadabra or open sesame spells on it. So really neat. Of course, I've always been fascinated with mythology and folklore, and I believe this one here was made out of mahogany. And here is how the pattern starts off. You can see you fold it there at a 90 degrees, and what you do with compound cutting is attach the pieces on 2 sides of the material, hence why it is folded. Again, that's also key in knowing that your table saw or your bandsaw is dialed in at a perfect 90 degrees to where you can fold that precisely on the line and attach the pattern to the material. Now, as I said, the full-size pattern pull-out section featured in the magazine offers 3 designs here. You can see the full-size pattern, and you have the Amiibo wand, as I have said. You also have the cloud wand, and the wizard's face wand. And those are the 2 wands we are going to be making and bringing to life in today's video. And I've already got, as I said, the patterns photocopied and attached to our material with clear packing tape. The cloud wand is going to be made out of a piece of cedar, and the wizard's face wand, I believe, again, this is more pieces of mahogany that I milled down. I don't know if anyone is familiar with that grain texture there, but really cool. Happy to make these and add these to the collection with the wizard's wand. Of course, growing up, the legendary Harry Potter series is what got me into reading books originally, way back when, so I still have a love and nostalgia aspect for those books. And anytime I see a project dedicated to mythology, folklore, witches, or wizards, I'm always kind of keen to make it and bring it to life visually over here on the platforms. But really cool that we are going to start with just a 1-inch square strip of material that we have milled down, and with a little bit of time, practice, patience, and effort over at the scroll saw, we're going to reveal a beautiful and mythological 3-dimensional magic wand cut out completely over at the scroll saw. And since everything is pretty much prepped and prepared, let's move the camera over to the scroll saw so we can get these magic wands revealed. And before we begin scrolling, we will of course double check and make sure that the scroll saw is dialed in at a perfect 90 degrees with our 3D printed blade alignment jig. but after double checking, it is time to begin scrolling. And for all scrolling on this project, I'll be using a number 5 Ultra Reverse Tooth blade. And even though we are cutting through an inch thick material in this compound cut project we are making, the blade will still cut exceptionally well with minimal chip out. This is the piece, I believe, of cedar for this wand here that we are cutting out, and this is the cloud wand. And I'm being as loyal as I can be to the cut line. Of course, I just hope a project like this shows that you can make part of your Halloween costume and props and things like that, as opposed to going to a big box store and getting them. It can save you a little bit of money by making it yourself out in your garage or workshop. But we are already done with one half of the cloud wand here, and now we will begin with the wizard's face wand. And I'm now switching to a close-up view to give you guys a better perspective. Again, I'm just taking my time and letting the blade do the work here and being as loyal as I can be to the cut line. And that's especially essential when you are doing compound cutting through thicker stock like we are here. Again, 1 inch thick. You do not want to be too aggressive feeding the material into the blade, because the blade could warp and bend within the material, and then after you are done with your scroll saw work, the piece would not be able to slide apart properly to complete the project. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, I made one of the wands in the pack I showed you at the beginning of the video several years ago on my old 16-inch Delta scroll saw, and I wanted to make the other two in a visual format for you guys to view and enjoy. And here is a step that's totally optional with compound cutting. It's just something I like to do. After we cut out the one side, I like to take it over to the workbench and carefully separate it and dust off all of that excess sawdust and remove as much of it as possible before taping the piece back together with clear packing tape. You can see me doing that now. Removing that excess sawdust just helps reduce, friction and burn marks when over at the scroll saw. But after everything is taped back together, we'll head back over and do the final 2 cuts to complete our compound cut magic wands. And if you guys like what you're seeing, I would highly encourage you to subscribe to my channel and also follow me across all my social media feeds under the Artisan Pirate name. I'd really appreciate the support. And if you guys would like to try these magic wand patterns, they are available in an older issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing. It's always cool to go back and look at those older issues and find beautiful and creative scroll saw woodworking projects like this to bring to life over on the platform. And this, I believe, is the piece of mahogany. And keep in mind, if you use harder or denser materials, that means your cut over at the scroll saw will be that much more slower. And for those curious, the Rikon scroll saw is a variable speed scroll saw, and the speed that I have the scroll saw set on 99% of the time is balanced between a 7 and an 8. But after we come back around here, all of the scroll saw work on these compound cut magic wands will be complete. Did not take long at all to cut them out, and it does not use a lot of material to make the wands. But once all of the scroll saw work is done, we'll head back over to the workbench and carefully remove the pieces from the waste wood. There we have our cloud wand, and the wizard face wand was a little bit more tedious to get out because of all the angles on the handle. Again, I was being very careful here because I did not want to break anything. But there we have our 2 magic wands made completely over on the scroll saw. And now it's time for sanding, and I'm using sandpaper and sanding sponges from Klingspor Woodworking Shop, and you can sand these magic wands as much or as little as you want to. But again, be very careful here. you don't want to be too aggressive because of course they are made of wood and they are very fragile. But they make awesome props for your nice witch or wizard costume for cosplay or Halloween purposes. But after I was happy with all of the sanding, before we went to clear coating, I wanted to show you guys something my grandmother got me years ago. It was a copy of the Marauders map from Harry Potter. This is a screen accurate map. I am a huge fan of the Harry Potter series, and it's been years since I read the books. But again, this is a screen replica from the movies. Just wanted to show it to you guys. And now it's time for finishing with a few coats of Rust-Oleum clear gloss. And it really made those natural colors in the woods we used stand out. Once it dried, the project was complete. And here we have the completed compound cut Mythical Magical Wands, cut out completely over on the scroll saw from start to finish. Once again showing off the scroll saw's versatility for taking projects into the third dimension with the compound cutting technique. Really cool here. Really beautiful how they finished up with the Rust-Oleum clear gloss. It really made the grain textures and the material we used in today's video pop and stand out. I want to once again thank Mr. Al Bagetta for the beautiful and creative and versatile design for scroll saw woodworking. I'll once again hold that magazine up that the pattern is featured in, the older issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing, as we get ready to close the video here momentarily. But really beautiful. It took me around 30 minutes to scroll these magic wands out completely over at the scroll saw. It does not take long to make these, and they are very simple to make over at the scroll saw with the compound cutting technique, with a little bit of time, practice, patience, and effort, and also making sure that your scroll saw and your table saw or even your bandsaw is dialed in at a perfect 90 degrees for the compound cutting to work. But really cool here. We're going to look at each one of the magic wands here individually as we close the video here, but I'm really happy with how these came out, and it really takes me back to when I was originally reading the Harry Potter series. Again, that's what inspired me to start reading full time, and now I'm back to reading again, and it's just great to dive into the pages of a good book. So it brought back a lot of fond memories. We do have the nice wizard's face wand here, and I really love how it's got this curved effect on it, like the magic wand has been used throughout the medieval years, you know, for casting spells and everything. It's very comfortable to hold in the hand. It does have the simulated wizard's face, the profile of the wizard's face there along the handle, but a really unique design. And as I said, the Rust-Oleum clear gloss we applied as a finish really made the grain textures pop. Again, I believe this is mahogany that we used for this magic wand. I'm not entirely sure, but it came out nice and crisp. And then over here out of cedar material we have the cloud wand. A little more straightforward wand here, but the wand stem itself does have some effects in it to make it look like clouds up in the starry night and the skies and everything. Has a nice little cloud texture on the base of the handle there, what I'd call the hilt. And again, it's another one that is really comfortable to hold. And I just hope that this video goes to show that you can make accessories and props for your Halloween costumes during the spooky Halloween months. I, of course, made my original pirate belt buckles out of wood on the scroll saw and then painted them the appropriate colors. When I got the original costume that I still wear to this day, it came with some flimsy plastic belt buckles, and I just traced them out on 1/4-inch material. And then as the years went on, I did upgrade to metal belt buckles, you know, just as time went on. But again, it just shows that you can make some of the props and accessories you need for your Halloween costume. And I also think that these would make a great gift any time of year to give to family, friends, or loved ones, people that love the alchemy, the medieval mythological folklore of witches and wizards and druids and things like that. Again, I am fascinated with that subject, and I just think these make really cool table decor pieces if you wanted to put these like in a cross manner, maybe put a candle between them, or maybe a skull off to the side, or maybe a bottle of potions, you know, a glass jar filled with some colorful liquids or something like that. So you have display options, and of course they can be practical, but keep in mind with them being made out of wood, they are fragile. But you could of course tuck these in a belt, quickly. You know, if you had a witch or wizard costume and you had a belt on it, you could tuck it in there to where it would be readily available to cast your medieval and mythological spells. But really happy with how these came out. This one here, the Cloud Wand, was of course made out of cedar, and cedar of course is a softer material. It took less time to cut this one than it did the Wizard's Face Wand, because again, the Wizard's Face Wand is made out of a harder and denser material, and you could of course by all means make these out of any material you want to. They do not take up much material at all. You can see here they are just 1-inch square strips that you can mill down off of offcuts that you have in your scrap bin out in your garage or workshop, and they're a little over a foot in length. So again, not much material at all. There is all of the waste wood. Well, now there is all the waste wood from today's project. But really cool, really versatile. Again, back when that magazine came out, I believe the cover said 2020, we did make the original Amiibo wand over on the original Delta 16-inch scroll saw that I started this channel with. So now we have all three of them here. I did make all three of them back in the day, but now we have all three made visually for you guys to see the process from start to finish over on the scroll saw. And again, the Amiibo wand, I believe this one's made out of walnut or mahogany, but you can see that it had some internal cuts on the handle, and I think it would be really cool to maybe put some colorful resins down in there, or maybe if you're very good with electronics, maybe an LED light so when you casted a spell it would light up or something like that. So options and creative versatility for each and every scroll saw project you come across. And again, the full-size patterns that we started with were featured in that older issue of Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine by Fox Chapel Publishing. Those were the actual patterns that I photocopied. And again, the design come from Scroll Saw Woodworking and Crafts magazine, fall 2020, yes 2020, issue 80 for those curious. And the article began on page 26. And again, I want to thank Mr. Albagetta for a fantastic pattern design and article featured in this older issue. And again, it said at the time of this video's release, the magazine's release, excuse me, you could go to scrollsawer.com and download this stand to properly display the magical wands in. I don't know if that's still available. Again, this came out in 2020. But magic has always fascinated me. We used to have a magic shop in local downtown Burlington. It has closed down. It's been closed down for years, but I remember going in there when I was younger and getting some magic tricks demoed. You know, they would do like the string where they would act like they would cut it, but it was one solid piece of string. You know, the cup and the balls, you know, where they would shuffle them around and they would all appear in one or disappear from all three of them entirely. So really cool. Even over on the little lathe I have out here in the workshop, I have turned to magic wands. Now, I am by no means a wood turning expert. You guys know scroll saw woodworking is the passion that I love out here in the workshop. But this was the one I made when I very first got the lathe out in the workshop. The handle is made from cedar, and then the stem of the wand is made from, I believe, pine. You can see it's very bulky as opposed to the magic wands we made here in today's video. Again, I had just gotten the lathe when I done this, and then a little later, several years later, when I was a little more confident over at the lathe, I turned this one here with a walnut handle and an oak stem, and I turned the tenon and all to put the two pieces together. So out in your workshop, if you are good on the lathe or even good on the scroll saw, you can make some creative magic wands. And as I said, Harry Potter really fascinates me. My grandmother, back when I was reading the original books and then the movies started coming out, got me a replica copy of the Marauders map, and this was one of my favorite props from the books and the movies, the way it would tell where everybody was, and it completely unfolds and everything. And if you want to study making magic wands even further than what's featured in that magazine there, Fox Chapel Publishing also offers the compendium of wooden wand making techniques, mastering the enchanted art of carving, turning, and scrolling wands. So this nice hardback book here, you can see it's a nice big volume, is featured with patterns, designs, and articles to not only scroll out magic wands, but to also carve them if you're good at whittling or turning them over at the lathe. a very good volume to pick up to add to your woodworking library if you want to tackle making magic wands out in your garage or workshop. But it was really cool to get out here and go down memory lane and make something from start to finish completely over on the scroll saw for you guys to hopefully view and enjoy. But hopefully along the way, from the beginning of the video until now as we are closing the video, you guys picked up a tip, trick, or tidbit along the way. And hopefully I have encouraged you guys, if you don't want to make a magic wand, but I hope I have encouraged you to go out in your garage or workshops and maybe make a prop or accessory to go with your Halloween costume this spooky and Halloween season. But let me know which one is your favorite. Here is the original amiibo wand we made back in the day, and I'll have a link to this video down in the description box below or up here in the corner somewhere as we close the video. And then in today's video we made the cloud wand and the wizard's face wand. Hocus pocus, my friends. The magic is here as Halloween draws closer. That's going to be about all for this one. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you'll click that subscribe button and also follow me across all my social media feeds under the Artisan Pirate name. As always, links to contact me as well as all my social media feeds will always be linked down in the description box below these videos. That's about all for this one. And remember guys, if I can make it or do it, so can you guys. I'm the Artisan Pirate. Take care, and I'll see you guys real soon.